Guys, there are spoilers for this film and this review. So if you don't want to get pulled over in Vermont, go watch film and come back. You have been warned. Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan HD, and this week we watched Super Troopers 3, a Broken Lizard production. And I thought, it was alright, I guess. I mean, I think overall it was just kind of whatever. It wasn't really that funny. It wasn't really that entertaining. And that's kind of what you're going for in a comedy like this, right? That's kind of all it has. And it wasn't really all that. And I just didn't really enjoy it that much. But before I go on a whole tangent, why I thought this film was whatever, I'll tell you why and more back at the house.
Watch it, Father.
Is it possible we're no longer the cool guys in our own story?
Not a fucking chance. Okay, Farva. Time to pick your snake. This guy's actually kind of cute.
Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan HD, and this week we watched Super Troopers 3. Of course, the third installment in the Super Troopers Now trilogy. Written, directed by, and starring J. Chandrasekhar. I'm very, very sorry. I definitely didn't say that properly. Starring as well, Kevin Heffernan, Steve Lemmy, Paul Sauter, Eric Stolansky, and also featuring appearances from Brian Cox and Linda Carter. I'm going to say right now, I mean, this is a comedy, right? This is just full-on comedy, and I'm going to say the film was alright, I guess. I mean, it's not like it was offensive or anything. Like, it's not like it did anything that was just absolutely terrible, but I just feel like it wasn't necessarily that great either. You know, I feel like it's just kind of like the middle, in the middle a bit. Because, yeah, there were some moments here and there that were like, got a little chuckle out of me. Maybe a little guffaw or two. But, overall, I think the film just, it definitely didn't have the humor of the first movie. Even though I thought the second movie was weak as well, I still think the second movie was still a bit funnier than this one, right? And overall, it wasn't even really a cop movie like the last two were. Like, they're highway patrol officers. Like, that's the whole thing with them being super troopers, is that they are highway patrol officers, and like the comedy is derived from them being police. And this one is just like a fucking wedding comedy, right? Like, which, no, like, I don't have anything against wedding comedies, but when I'm watching the movie about the cops, with the comedy usually derived from them being cops, I want the comedy to be about them being cops. I don't want the comedy to be about a fucking wedding, right? And it just didn't feel like the first two movies. It just wasn't there. And even then, it felt like them being cops was kind of like an afterthought. It feels like they could have just made this movie like its own thing. Like Broken Lizard could have just made this movie without it being a Super Troopers movie. They could have taken out the Super Troopers aspect and it would have mostly stayed the same, I feel like. It didn't really feel like that. And I think another thing is, one thing I don't really like as well is the fact that like the whole like drug bust thing, like with like in the climax and the bad guys and stuff, that felt really shoehorned in there. Like the Deep and his stupid brother and the like wedding planner lady, like them being drug dealers, which was the most obvious thing in the world, which I guess maybe the joke is that it was obvious, I guess, but even then it wasn't that funny if it was supposed to be a joke that it was obvious. But they had like busted them for weed, but now that weed's legal, they're like making syrup infused crystal meth, and they're like smuggling that and that's what they're doing. But they didn't really do much. They were there every now and again, like they appeared in the movie, but they were kind of like just dickish, and I mean, they weren't really like that big of a threat. And I get, yeah, it's a comedy. They don't need to be like super intimidating or super threatening. Like villains in comedies don't need to be, but like at least make them funny, right? Like if you're gonna have a villain in a comedy, at least make them funny. They weren't really all that funny. I can't really remember anything that they said, right? Because they weren't that funny. I think, as it said, I feel like they were just shoehorned into the movie to be like, yeah, to remind the audience, yeah, these guys are cops, right? Remember, these guys are cops arresting drug dealers and shit. And I don't know, the whole movie just kind of felt underbaked, like undercooked. You know, it didn't feel, I don't know, like the whole time I was watching it, I'm like, this maybe could be funny, but even then, some of it was just obviously being a Super Troopers movie. There's like, you know, lowbrow, raunchy humor, like a lot of the other movies, but I feel like it felt, I don't even know, there's not even really that much to say about this movie because it's just kind of average. I mean, is the chemistry of the main cast still there? Yeah, they still have fun chemistry. They still can have fun banter with each other here and there. And, I mean, they're still fun to watch, right? I don't feel like they've lost a step in that regard. I just feel like the material is a lot less potent. It's a lot less humorous. It's a lot less entertaining than even in the second movie. I mean, especially in the first movie when compared. Because, as I said, the whole first movie is about them being highway patrol officers and the hijinks they get up to, like, as highway patrol officers, and like their rivalry with the local police, right? And the movie is based on the local police being the villains, being the bad guys, like, being corrupt and, like, in with drug smugglers and shit. And they're like, they bust them at the end of the movie, right? That's the whole, like, what the whole movie's about. The whole movie is about the drugs that are coming in and who's making them and who's dealing them. But this movie, as I said, the drugs were an afterthought. It was just about this stupid fucking wedding, right? That's what basically the whole movie was about. The drugs were not even really that important. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't really care about the wedding stuff. Like, I didn't think it was that funny. I didn't think it was that engaging. I didn't think it was that entertaining. I don't know. I just felt bored with the wedding stuff because, as I said, if I wanted to watch a wedding comedy, I would have watched a wedding comedy, right? I get that in the title card, this is called Super Troopers 3 Farva's Wedding, but it's just called Super Troopers 3. Like, its actual name is just Super Troopers 3. They only call it Farva's Wedding in the movie. In the opening, like, in the opening card, title card, that's the only place it's called Farva's Wedding. So, like, I didn't even know this was a fucking wedding comedy. So I went in wanting a cop comedy, and I came out of it with a stupid fucking wedding comedy. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to watch a wedding comedy today. But that's what I got anyway, so I guess I'm gonna have to fucking deal with it, I guess. And it wasn't even that good of a wedding comedy. Like, there are decent wedding comedies. I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm just saying that's not what whatever. As I said, there are decent things about this movie, but overall, I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. And, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend this movie. You know what I mean? I guess if you're like a huge, massive, gargantuan, elephantine fan of the first two movies, you could get like a good chuckle or enjoyment out of this movie. If you didn't like the first two, you are not gonna like this one. Because it is literally just a inferior version of the first two movies. So you're definitely not going to get any enjoyment out of this. Although, you probably don't need me to tell you that if you don't like the first two. Regardless. With that being said, you may ask, what would I rate this movie? I think I would rate this film a 5.5 out of 10. And, yeah, I think I've said what I needed to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, I hope you like this video. Share it with friends, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But, you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say is if you guys hate this video, unsubscribe, tell me how much hate me in the comments. And I've been running Tim HD off to make a drug bust. So, I was watching this movie, right? And in the end credits, they were like showing bloopers and shit. And they had a scene with Brian Cox. Like, Brian Cox he was like one of the bright spots of this movie. He was great in this movie. And he's like genuinely a great actor. So it's so funny how they managed to rope him into the first one. And now he's just kind of stuck in these movies. But I remember there was a part where he like forgot the name of one of the characters. And he's like, yeah, sorry, I just read this like 2 days ago. It's like, he doesn't even really give a shit. He's like kind of like being a grumpy old man, like fucking yelling at them while during the scenes, which I think is very funny. Because he knows he's better than this, and I guess he just wants the paycheck, I guess. So I guess I can respect that.